And what usually, people are gonna hate me for this, what usually happens to people of color when they come out with an idea.
Hello, everybody. This is Giovonnie Samuels, and this is another wonderful episode of the Tokens Podcast. Today's guest, I have Marco Martinez. His TV credits include Snowfall, GENTEFIED, and NCIS. And get this, he was the first Afro-Cuban bilingual children's television star back in the 70s. All right, you guys, don't forget to hit all of our socials. You can definitely hit me up at Only One Giovonnie. The link tree is in the bio or in the show notes. And let's get started in this conversation. Okay, so let's start from the beginning.
Yes.
How did you start your career?
When I was a very, very young kid, my family's from Cuba. Mm-hmm. So Cubans have tambores, the African drums, parties. It's a ritual Yuduban thing. And I was, 4, singing with family. Irene Cara, she's my mom's cousin's daughter, something like that. And rest in peace. And the creator of a show called Alegre, it was the first ever bilingual kids show he was developing. He was part of a national bilingual initiative. He wanted me on the show. So my mom...
seeing
me singing at the party, singing the songs and, and dancing and all that. And we came down to Sunset Studios.
Okay.
Long ago. I think we flew TWA.
What's that?
But then that was it. The Bronx, where we lived, my family was already thinking, it may be time to go, but we weren't kind of sure where we wanted to go. And this just kind of gave them the push for us to leave. And we came to LA, and that's how I started. It was bilingual kids show. My first week, we were recording if any of you remember it, is la 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 vi alegre oye amigo. That was that little, it was a jam. It used to come on after Electric Company and Sesame Street. We bilingual kids, we had our show, and that was Via Alegre. It was the first time it was ever done. So I was on there.
That's massive. How old are you?
4 and a half.
4 years
old? 4 and a half, yeah.
And how long did the show run for?
The show ran for, I think he had it for like anywhere between 6 to 8 years. Something like, it was for a while. I was only on there for about 2 years. But it was a great experience. I tell you what, and I don't want to jump into this, but I think it's important.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of stuff coming out now about Afro Latinidad,
right.
Black Latinos, who are the second largest Black group outside the continent of Africa. Mm-hmm. It's about 150 million of us, right? And so that first week there was a protest, right? And I didn't know, I didn't know what they were protesting. People were, and then I thought, I was too young to know, and my parents and Dr. Cardenas, rest in peace, thought maybe it was people protesting about having a Spanish, English show, whatever. But ultimately it was a Chicano group, and they were protesting me because they thought that the show was, that they were forcing somebody, an African-American kid on the first bilingual show. And they wanted authentic representation of Latinidad or Hispanic, as it was called then.
Which is fair and understandable, but they didn't
know. Because out here, you didn't have
a lot of Afro-Latinas.
Nah. New York, dime a dozen. You can throw a rock and hit somebody, that was from somewhere in the islands. But out here, you didn't. So I'd like to, I kind of... It's funny because, my reps, when we pitch stuff, they always say, he's the first Afro-Latino to play an Afro-Latino on TV, on American TV.
Well, there you have it.
There it is. I was Latino before it was sexy, before J-Lo was on the block, and before all that. I was here, I was around, and And the code switching, and we'll get into that later. That wasn't a term then, but that was something I had to be conscious of. Okay, I'm speaking to an African American person or just a black person. I'm speaking to somebody from the islands. I'm speaking to a Mexican or Chicano person, which is different than speaking to a Cuban, Puerto Rican, Dominican, Colombian person.
So this is like deeper than deep. It's the same. Would you say it's the same as colorism within the African American community as it is with
we have a lot. You know what? Let's colorism. I know it's a thing in the U.S., but colorism. I'm not gonna say our colorism is bigger, but it is a huge problem in Latin America. If you look at my grandma, when I played baseball, let's put it this way, she didn't want me to play baseball. I was a really good baseball player, obviously Cuban. But she was, it's true. And she would say, I don't want him to play. Why not? Oh, because the sun's too hot. It's too hot. You get too dark. Because that was the mentality. And you have to think, and I know for us Cubans, we used to say, oh, I know we have colorism, but we're not like the Dominicans. And then the Puerto Ricans. And the Dominicans had it tough because, and I won't get into, without going into history, they literally had a president that was engaging in a type of genocide against Haitian people in the Dominican Republic. And so if you would say, I'm black, negro, that's it, you're gone. And so people started saying, no, I'm not black, I'm Indian. So people don't understand that about that culture. So colorism is big. Mexico just recently acknowledged black Mexicans for the first time in their census. There's a group down south in the south of Mexico, and African indigenous people. I don't know. I'm assuming they came around or before the slave trade era, and they settled down in South Mexico. They speak Spanish, but they have all their customs from their countries of origin, and they were never recognized.
Wow.
They were just there. Nobody ever talked about them. People didn't. And in Mexico, you'll see the same thing. Look at their presidents. Colorism. They haven't had any dark presidents. Look at Spanish TV. No, you won't see anybody like me. There's never been an Afro Latino family or individual as a lead in any novela at any time. But there are Afro Latinos like my grandmother, who watched novelas every day of their lives. And when I used to say, but abuela, like, why are you watching this? Nobody looks like us. What else am I gonna watch?
So with the show coming out here to the States and that being a massive thing, what was next to follow with your career?
So after that, I was young. So my parents, they were very leery of Hollywood.
Understandably so.
And then my parents split, so I was more with my mom, and she was like, well, if you want to do it, you have to do it like Irene, like you have to dance and you have to sing and you have to learn to act. You have to do it the right way. So I go to Theater of Arts. I was I was a member as a kid of the Ebony Showcase Theater. I got involved and we did plays and Raisin in the Sun and I think, like most kids, I started saying, well, you know what? I want to do other stuff. I got into rapping. I had a record.
You had a record?
I had a record. I was in the group. I went to high school with Ice Cube, with O'Shea. And in fact, little known fact, I'm going to throw you this nugget. I dated someone whose sister dated Dr. Dre when he was in the Wrecking Crew, and they were playing at Knott's Berry Farm. And O'Shea gave me his demo tape for his group CIA and said, hey, can you give this to Dre? Because I heard he's producing, rap.
Do you still have it?
Nah, I gave it to Tracy to give to Andre. And he was like, is this yours? And I was like, nah, it's my buddy O'Shea's. And he was like, all right. And she was like, just check it out, Andre. And he was like, all right. And I don't know what happened. But my group, KTK, Cartoon Crew.
You can just, breeze past that.
Yeah.
But yes, your crew.
No, we
That's a big thing.
We performed with CIA. When we got signed, it was a small label, Jumpin' Jack Records. It's KTK. It was DJ Jammin' James, by the way, who discovered a group called The Lighter Shade of Brown. He's a big he's DJ and he's all over. Big ups to him. DJ Romeo, who went to New York and became the DJ for the Real Roxanne.
Okay.
Our concept was 2 MCs, 2 DJs. You know, we wanted to be different. And so we had a little record called Getting Sweated. It was out, and we toured all over LA, outside LA, parts of California, Las Vegas, Arizona. We went to Skateland one night with O'Shea, and I'll never forget, in the back, we got there in the back of a Nissan truck back in the days, in the man pickups, and there was some shooting, and I've never been around shooting, so I was like looking like, hey, what's going on? And he was like, get down, fool. And we drove off, took about 30 minutes. I don't know where we went. We came back, the sheriffs were leaving. Okay, cool. This is when I knew rap wasn't for me. I'm not ashamed to admit it. Nah, I'm not hard like that.
You are not a gangster, but no gangsters here.
No gangster, no.
Nah.
We went into Skateland, and we had to go to the side of the stage because in the front of the stage was chicken wire. And we performed a show with chicken wire with nothing but Crips and all kind of gang members like, hey, you know, where you from? And I'm like, this is not
the life.
Nah, I live by like LA High. I don't live down here. I don't even know where I was. So that was my my last show. And then, you know, I stayed in the arts. I got into dancing. There were lots of dance crews in Los Angeles.
Give a time era for...
I gotta say it? All right, 80s. Late 80s.
Late 80s. Okay.
There was dance crew, my dance crew, Godfathers. We ended up being the city champs. We danced with Tony Basil. Oh, Mickey, you're so fine.
Okay.
Did some choreography for like, you know, Gap commercials. The rest of the guys, I left to Europe, but my group toured when they won the contest. They toured with Janet, did her Japan leg of her tour. Been on Soul Train a lot. And a lot of people came out of there. No, not like Alex Thomas came out.
Like,
he did his Soul Train.
Wait, were you a dancer on Soul Train?
No, where you go and they call you in.
The Asian lady, is she?
No, those were like regular dancers, like my friend Monique, like my friend Louis, you know, with the hat and glasses, you know, Louis, OG Cuddy Mac, what's up? But no, we'd go on there because when we won that contest in LA, it was almost like, it was like a vacuum, right? It was like a few thousand people in LA, you know, and it was like, once you won, you were popular. I can go to any school. I would walk on to certain high schools and they were like, hey, and you know, cause I had 4 classes, I'd leave, I'd go visit friends at, you know, Immaculate Heart, like, hey, come on, you know, it's all girls school. I'm like, hey, I'm walking in campus. I go down to Westchester, like, what's up, Fairfax?
LA life is very
LA life was like that.
It's very weird.
And, you know, so we'd go to Soul Train and, you know, they had the folks and they'd be like, okay, y'all come on in. And let me tell you, the scene, the rap group, The Far Side were dancers.
Okay.
Alex Thomas, great comedian, dancer, and Daryl Heath, they're friends, dancers. Heart and Soul, Bobby Brown's group, they came out the scene. The Good Girls, they're, you know, Your Sweetness, little group, they came out the scene. There's a lot of, Tim Story, the director, he was in the scene. So there's a lot of people that came out of that, and I actually wrote a screenplay I'm talking to Tim about. But that was a part of LA life that if you were black, a few Latinos, but if you were black in the 80s, crack was big. And if you weren't a gangster and you weren't dealing crack, what else did you have? Well, we didn't have the internet and all that.
Right.
So we had these dances, and we dressed like mods. We had creepers, tapered pants, suits, turtlenecks, name it, bow ties, shirts. And so we weren't seen as, you know, people would see us, police, other people, and they knew, they're in suits, old man suits, and they were like, there's you guys aren't. That would, you know, that was differentiated us. And we had like they called the trendy scene gangs, like the Sex Jerks and the Posers, and
you know, all of this is going over my head, right?
There were these gangs, because, you know, there's got to be a gangs, right? So they came out of the whole dance scene era, and that was towards the end when hip hop came in, and it started getting bad because all of a sudden they wouldn't, you know, dress codes in LA. oh, you can't get in with jeans, you can't get in with that. So
like warriors,
we didn't wear vests. No,
come out and play.
No,
like
they were like,
that's what I mean by like the dance gangs. That's all y'all had.
No, they were like dudes that were affiliated with, like, your cousin was a member of the Rolling 60 Crips or the Schoolyard Crips, and then you were affiliated, but you weren't a member, and you liked going to these dances because you went to one of these schools. So you had a posse, a crew of folks, and you would go, and then somebody that you had beef with was there, and you just get into fights. And you know what we did when we had beef? Like my friend Oliver, who danced for Madonna, he had a little blonde hair.
Okay.
He was like, oh, I don't like Marco, some petty stuff. So I drove to Hamilton High. Like, this is how we settled it. Oh, what's up? I heard you talking mess about me. Yeah, I was talking mess. So what you want to do? What you want to do? Someone hit play on the cassette tape. The song came out. Come on. That's how we got that.
Dance?
Yes.
Like, ooh,
yes.
I'm gonna hit you with this move.
Listen.
What?
Okay, but check it out. Think about hip hop.
Very true.
New York City Breakers, a Rock City Crew, stuff like that.
Right.
It was like, if you lost, that was your reputation. So you couldn't lose. We would go on a party, and I remember people would be like, oh, your boy Terry and your group, they're battling in the Soul Brothers, hurry up. So we'd have to run around, and, we had our little routines like, okay, number three. And then we'd do our thing. That's what LA was. So
okay,
there was that. And then around the teenage years, I started coming back to acting.
Okay.
So let me, I know, say all that.
I know, you got a whole thing. So you started out as the first Cuban American or
Afro Latino.
I'm sorry,
to play an Afro Latino on TV.
Playing Afro Latino on TV.
There was never a black person to speak Spanish on an American show as a regular before me.
At 3.
4.
Oh, sorry. 4.5.
I was a little older than that, yeah.
Okay, 4.5.
Yes.
Then you've had this rock steady bebop hip hop era.
I was in the arts. I did hip hop. I had a record. I said I wanted to make a record.
Right, that's right. I'm sorry. I made a record.
I made a record, our actual record.
And then you danced
and
for
then
a while.
I danced.
And now we're back to acting.
And then I'm back to acting.
Okay.
And then the problem started. There weren't any roles back then for black kids. So you had to do theater. You had to get in a theater group. So I went back to Ebony Showcase. I went back to Theater of Art, studying there, which used to be on Wilshire and Crenshaw, and before they moved to, and they just didn't have roles. And I remember people like, "How we like him, but we just don't have anything for black kids." And when breakdowns did come out back then, and people would talk about them, it wasn't very dissimilar to now. You would have, 8 to 10 different roles, maybe one was black, but the problem is you had to already be in it. So Alfonso Rivera, he was already in that. If you weren't in that, it was hard. We did, I tested for What's Happening Now to play Roger's adopted son. And they were like, and that was like 6 auditions.
Okay.
And I didn't have a rep. The Ebony Showcase Theater, the theater, manager, they were supporting me through this whole thing. And eventually they were like, okay, yeah, we want them. And then that was, we thought, oh, we did it. Like, we finally, we made it. And then the show got canceled. And there was nothing else. There was no internet. There was no, it's either theater, and LA is not really a theater town. So you had to just love it. And so, kind of around that time, I was kind of, then it was like, well, we do need a black kid, and the stereotypical roles. Well, he's a runaway, he's in a gang, but we don't think Marco can play it because what is he? He's not
black enough.
He's not. Yeah, he's not. They didn't want to say
he's too proper.
We're looking for someone more authentic.
Right. He's not urban enough.
Yeah. He lives closer to like Larchmont Village. We need someone that lives closer to Compton, right? He speaks
too proper.
Yeah, because I had ESL class, so he I would literally have people, can you, they didn't use the term urban. I don't want to lie on that, but they use another term. I just can't think of it, but they would be like, can you be a little more, kind of like, give me like that attitude.
Yeah.
And I'd be like,
Now, how old were you when this was happening?
That's between the ages like 15 and 17. 14 and 17. So I danced and I still acted and did theater. All that happened, but the theater took my mind away from that. The dance took my mind away from that. The dance gave me something, I loved performing, and I needed a vehicle to perform.
Right. Because you weren't able to perform on stage because
nobody would want me. Even black people didn't know what you Martinez, what are you? Where your family from? Cuba.
You ain't black.
What? Yeah, no, we black. Nah, but you, what church you go to? Well, I went to a mass at a Catholic church, but my family is, and you're not. Oh, you don't go to like the church? I didn't know what that meant.
Right. And these are things that it's so disheartening because...
Let me just say this, though, before we both get beat up. It's a culture, and then there's race, and I think that's what confuses a lot of people, even to this day. So I've been dealing with that my whole life before it was a thing to explain I am black. I just happen to be black Cuban. And Spanish was my first language. I didn't learn to speak... I think when I did Via Alegre, so I was a latchkey kid. So right around the time of Via Alegre, they put me in ESL class and TV. That's what helped me with, because I had an accent. I would talk like, no, it's Marco, it's not Jew, it's you. That's why I said Jew. No, no.
But that's how right? You can't say that.
No. But that's why I say Jew. I say Jew coming to the party. No, are you coming to?
Yes.
I would talk because that's how the kids in the neighborhood spoke,
right.
Where I came from. And then when you speak Spanish and you hear your parents, you mimic. That's how you learn. So I mimic. So I had an accent and all that. Now, especially. Going to, a couple of years studying theater, TV. First thing they do, this, diction. Mm-hmm. Studying theater at Rose Bruford in London, diction. Mm-hmm. Everything has to be articulated. Yes. I was just talking to someone about Shakespeare, iambic pentameter. You have to be time. If you are not on it, it's over. Clear. If you're on a theater stage, they need to know in the back exactly what you said. You can't be like, well, what are you talking about? What? What'd you say? Yeah. Can't do that. And so that was my thing. My thing was I started getting into this shyness because there was I wasn't Mexican. So the Chicanos they were decent, but they were like, you're not one of us. You're like one of them, but you speak our language. So yeah. And then the black people were like, you like a fake N-word. I don't want to say it. And my brother had a tough time with that. He was older. He's 9 years older than me. So he had a tougher time than I did. And so it was kind of like, where's our community, right? And so I withdrew into the arts. For me, the arts was my escape. I could be anything. I could be anything. I could, that people say, oh, acting. Well, yeah, because I could be a doctor, a lawyer, or whatever.
It didn't matter. Right.
Didn't matter.
I didn't have to pick or choose a side. I could just be this character.
And I didn't have to judge the character. I knew that at a young age. I don't judge it. I just become it.
Right.
And that, to me, was my calling. Whereas for my sister, it did more damage to her psychologically, what she went through. Dealing with that. And my brother went to 4 high schools for fighting. When he came out here, he was what? I was 4.5. He was 13.5. He's 9 years older than me. So he left all his friends. When he eventually got to, he had anger issues, trying to fit in. And, people would test him. You ain't even really black. Or you ain't even really, what are you trying to be, Mexican? So he went to LA High School, got in a fight, got kicked out. Went to Belmont High School, got in a fight, got kicked out. Went to Marshall High School, fake N-word, got in a fight, got kicked out. And then the superintendent, when did the superintendent ever call parents? Usually the principal, right? Superintendent called my mom, my parents, and said, he got one more chance, so he's going to continuation school. And so he went to Hamilton High School and he graduated from there, didn't get kicked out. And this is a guy who just retired after 33 years as a probation officer for the county. So I guess it worked out.
Yeah, it all worked out. He knew how to tussle. He's all right.
He did.
Okay, so with all of that being said and done, what do you like about, or are there any changes now compared to how it's been then?
There is more diversity now because there's more outlets now. I don't think that there's more diversity in television. I think it's kind of like you factor in inflation, right? So every year there's like a little extra, something, it costs a little more. So you see more people of color on TV. You see more behind the screen, you know, and writing. I think we definitely see that. But if we didn't have HBO Max, Nickelodeon, Disney Channel, if we just had channel 2, 4, 5, 7, 9, 11, and 13 like we did back in the day, I don't think we'd be thinking that we've gone, that far. And then we see, we see movies like In the Heights. And I'm like, oh yeah, Brooklyn Heights. I'm like, you go there, you see us. Like, oye chico, oye chica, ¿qué pasa? Oye, ven pa' acá. And then I saw Brooklyn Heights, and I was like, oh, come on, Lynn. You couldn't even have
not one.
And then, John Leguizamo and his crew have the Dear Hollywood letter where they're talking about having more Latino representation in front and behind the camera. And I'm okay with that. But the problem is that Latino in Hollywood means...
very light.
Means if you're going to do a show about Cuba. In fact, I have a show that I was pitching with my reps. And the first time I talked about it at a show, there was at Universal Television in production for 2 years, right? And the lead she's Afro-Cuban. It's a Cuban woman. And the first thing they told me is like, so is there a role for Andy Garcia in it? I was like, who? Andy Garcia, is he going to be in this? I'm like, no. Why? Oh, well, because it's about Cuba. So the mentality is if you're doing something Latino, they have to be...
This episode of the Tokens Podcast is brought to you by UltimateWireless.com. Ultimate Wireless is a premier nationwide e-commerce superstore. They're also in partnership with over 35 celebrity events from Boston to Alaska and even Puerto Rico. They'll have you covered for all of your wireless accessory and gaming needs with everything from phone chargers to Nintendo Switches.
And just because you're a listener of the Tokens Podcast, Ultimate Wireless is hooking you up with up to 25% off your next purchase when you use our code, the Tokens, at checkout.
Sponsors like this help us keep the lights on at the Tokens, so the next time you need new earbuds, phone case, or even a game console, please go to ultimate-wireless.com.
And don't forget to let them know we sent you by using the code, the Tokens, one word, at checkout to get up to 25% off your entire order.
So, question.
Yeah.
How many times have you played a black role compared to a Cuban role?
Well, okay. Or Latino, Afro Latino role, yeah, because I don't play.
Because, again, you can kind of, for lack of a better term, code switch.
I can. That's, the majority of what I played have been Black Americans on television. I do a lot of guest star work, or, I'm at that stage. And it's been Black Americans. And I was on a soap. I played Dr. Mel Cooper. He's a black man. Bold and Beautiful. I Yeah, I think, GENTEFIED, Beyond Borders. I'm starting to think. There's a few others where I played Latinos, but on the other there's some other shows they were like, oh yeah, your character's Latino, and I actually recommended it. I think they brought me back for, oh my God, I can't remember the Kathy Bates show, but I was like, can we make my role Latino? Sure. But I speak in English, so you wouldn't, you know what I mean? Like, if that's what you need to bring the role out, fine. But I think some people...
But that's not a lot of people advocate for themselves in that way. So kudos to you.
They don't, yeah.
So how would you go about doing that?
I'm trying to develop content instead of waiting for someone to develop it for me. No one's going to do that, not at this stage in my life. Yeah. Let's put a spotlight on some Afro Latinos and put content out and give them a chance. So that's what I'm doing. I can't just sit around and complain. I got to be active in a solution.
That seems to be the running theme when it comes to being the token. It's like, okay, yes, I'm here.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm the only representation of this, but I'm going to use this voice, this time, to amplify this blind spot that everybody else sees.
And you're doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, you wear the badge of having to do that all the time. And I know it's tough. And it's always tough when you're one of the first to do anything, right? Because then you get people like, who she thinks I don't think she's gonna make it. You get the, right? But
how did you handle that in your career?
So here's the thing. I had a show, like I said, that I pitched. I was taken around town, studios, networks. It was, it's kind of like a Miami Vice set in Havana. It's the one I was telling you about. And my friends, Todd Milliner and Sean Hayes at Hazy Mills Production, they have Grimm, and Sean was in, Sean's, everybody knows Sean.
Yeah, so I love Grimm.
I got to them and they heard I was pitching it, and I'm like, Todd, they officiated my wedding. But I didn't want to take it to them because I didn't want to trample on our friend. I didn't want to be like, well, we're friends. Here, read my script.
You use your connections delicately.
They heard I was on the lot at NBC. They were like, bring it here. They liked it, heard the pitch. They were like, we put it on the board. We think this is great. We went to NBC. We did the initial pitch. They were like, get us a script. It was great. Now, here's the thing, though. I had been trained at Rose Bruford, or I work with Robert McKee, who wrote the story, and he's my coach, my writing coach, and I've been UCLA in writing, but I never had the confidence to write that because I felt the burden was too big. If I write something with Afro Latinos in it, then it's my writing. Then it's different if I'm acting in it.
Right.
But if I'm writing it, I'm making a statement, and if it's not the right statement, you got to be delicate, right? I wanted the Jackie Robinson it.
It's the constant, yes, your voice needs to be amplified. Yes, this needs to be heard. But with all of that comes that responsibility, because this sets the precedent to how anybody views and consumes content or this culture.
And what usually, people are going to hate me for this, what usually happens to people of color when they come out with an idea, the first, and it fails, they usually don't get a second chance.
Right.
One of my favorite actors is Robert Downey Jr. But if I were to break into somebody's house because I was on a drug binge or something like that, I'm gone. I'm not saying it's because of whatever you.
It's the truth because of how.
It's societal.
Yeah.
We didn't invent it. We didn't create it. It's what it is. We're trying to change that little by little. My point is, we know this, and so that burden is there. If I come out with an idea and it fails, it might not be a second chance for this type of idea.
Yes, because I was thinking of Jonathan Majors and how, it was it was an accident. 2, he was defending himself. And not before the case was even closed, he was already fired.
I I wasn't there. I don't know what happened.
I don't know what happened. I wasn't there either.
I wish I had a time machine and I can go back to right before everything started and be like, hey man, just don't get involved in this situation. It's not good for you. But we have to know, you know, Cuba Gooding, what's his name? Who played Eazy-E. He was on The Shy, you know, Jason, you know, the actor, he did something on The Shy and he got fired for, you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Jason Mitchell.
Okay.
Jason Mitchell, gone. CIA, gone. Everything gone. He's not getting a second chance. He's done. He's done his career. And Jonathan Majors, great actor, he's probably done.
And that's the unfortunate part about being, one, a Black person or a person of color in the spotlight and having that representation and responsibility.
But we know this. We know.
We, as in people of color,
We as in
know
people
this.
of color know, hey, well, they're gonna get one chance.
Right.
And I tell my friends who are my friends, who are you know, allies and advocates, look, it doesn't mean that I'm getting on you because I point out, you know, inconsistencies in society. I'm not getting on you. What I'm saying is, hey, this is what it is, right? 'Cause you don't understand my burden. I don't understand yours. But, you know, like, in other words, when a woman says, I don't feel comfortable going to this place alone because of rape culture, then a man should not say, oh, you're tripping, girl. Just go down there. Ain't no one gonna mess with you. We can't. We shouldn't. I know we do. A lot of people do. We shouldn't. Because we have to take into, you know, we have to take in that piece and say, we don't understand that, right? Your part. We know dudes that are shady. We know we wouldn't do that to you, but you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So from that perspective, I'm saying is we know that we can't really mess up like that. We can't be on TMZ on the table of a, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We like,
And it was a running joke in our family every time I went out. Don't end up on TMZ.
don't
Do nothing to where I gotta bail you out.
Don't.
Don't be on. That was even though that's nothing in my character, something I would do, but that was always said to me.
Yeah, don't do it.
No matter what, every time I left the house, don't end up on TMZ.
But that became within the last 20 years, that became a thing where it was less about studying the craft and more about let me just get noticed.
Yeah, let me
Somebody
be famous.
put me on something, right? Let me be famous for just being famous. Like, look, I studied with Leslie Kahn in early 2000s.
Come on, credits.
Let me tell you.
If y'all don't know,
Let me tell you.
that is an acting.
You know who was in my class?
Yes.
Natasha Leggero, a comedian. Leggero, Natasha. Paris Hilton. Before the sex tape. I didn't know who she was. And this is when Leslie had it in her house in Hollywood Hills classes. So I'm walking up and I see this girl, this very thin blonde girl wearing, remember the Juicy sweats?
Yeah.
But it wasn't juicy, right? So then I'm just saying, I love Paris. She's great. No, but I'm laughing, right? And then you know people look and he's like look away, like nah, I wasn't laughing at you. And then I'm like, oh, here's the house, and she turns to go, and I'm like, damn it, she's going the same place I'm going. And we get to the door, we turn around, and then she goes, oh, you're in class, and I was like, yeah. She goes, oh, I'm Paris, so I'm Marco. I had no idea who she was. We became scene partners. She actually hooked me up, so I'm not gonna say nothing wrong with her. I went to Australia and they upgraded my hotel. I stayed at the Hilton, and thank you, Paris. But Matthew Nelson was in that class. Matthew and his twin brother Gunnar had a band called Nelson. Their father was Ricky Nelson. Their grandparents, his grandparents, Ozzie and Harriet. And you know what Matthew said to me? He looked at Paris, because I was like, why is nobody talking to this? Oh, I can't stand her. She's so privileged, man. She's just born with a silver spoon in her mouth. I was like, dude, ain't your parents Ozzie and Harriet? I mean, your grandparents and your dad, Ricky Nelson? I mean, he's like, yeah, we had money, but not like that kind of money. And I'm like, let me tell you something. My parents lost everything. Their business, their home, their money. they had to like flee their country and come here without even speaking the language and then start from scratch, learn the language, get educated here, start a family. That's not his burden. That's not his problem. But for me, from my eyes, I know Ozzie and Harriet. I know Ricky Nelson. You're just as privileged as her. Right. But it's weird to see him put her on another pedestal. And that's how I met Paris. But that's who was in the class. And that was a learning experience. Yeah, I'm sorry. What were we talking about now? Talking about
Okay. So what are you doing now?
So right now, a couple of things happened. I am in negotiations to either join the cast of or cover for the traveling production of a really, really good play called Fat Ham.
Okay.
So I'm waiting to hear back on that. There's some good stuff there. And just, trying to get those things sold and develop more content with my reps. So that's what we're actively doing right now. Then I'm managing my little daughter. She's in New York and was just auditioning for The Lion King and is going back. So she's a great singer and a performer and pianist. So being a dadager. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, do you think your daughter will face tokenism?
Oh, of course. They got to figure out what she is first.
Yeah, that's that part. Okay, so can you elaborate for the people listening?
Yeah.
Your daughter is?
She is half me, half her mom. Her mom is Korean American, the nicest. You met her, the person you would know. She's my best friend. And Jules is my daughter's name is Juliana. We call her Jules. Is a very talented little girl who we didn't force, by the way, in this business. My reps wanted to represent her since she was 6. We asked her because we were trying to give her decision-making skills. Right. At 6, she said, "Nope, I see what you do. I don't want to do that."
Right.
7, "Nope, don't want to do it." And I said, last time I asked you, she came to me when she was 8. I think I'm ready now. Within 6 months, she was doing a Walmart national commercial. She got a contract. She did 5 national Walmart commercials. There's 2 of them playing right now. She's got a Target. She's got nationals up the yin yang. And then she's on a show, a lead. Well, she was. Last year, she was a lead on a show called Coco Melon on Netflix. It's a cartoon, very popular cartoon. Yeah, she's lead on that, and that led to she's a lead singer for Le Petit Cirque, with part of the Cirque du Soleil family. Mm-hmm. So she's doing her thing. I think.
What advice will you give your daughter about tokenism within her career? Because if you're coming now, first generation, having dealt with it,
sure, and
still dealing with it. How do you pass that wisdom to the next generation, and especially your daughter in this case?
And her mom is doing this too. We're teaching her to empower herself, right? Yes. So, we're teaching her to say no if she doesn't like something. I don't care who it is. Something doesn't feel right, doesn't look right. You could say no. Mm-hmm. Ask questions. Hey, you know what? Not disrespectfully or anything. Just have a question about this. Why do you want it this way? Mm-hmm. Because I can present it this way. Why isn't it like this? I don't understand. Can you elaborate for me? We're teaching her those things. And that's going to do one of two things. That's either going to take that BS element that's initially there out of the way. People are like, I don't want to deal with her. She asks too many questions. Or it's going to make some people go, didn't think about that. Yeah. So I think my generation, it was just like, you deal with it. I'm an Xer, deal with it. You, whatever happens, you suck it up. Suck it up. They tell you to do it. You do it. Tell you to play gangster number 3. Play gangster number 3,
right.
Whatever.
Because at that time,
there wasn't
that many roles.
There's more opportunities now.
Right.
and she's a creative. She does artwork, she does imaging stuff on the computer. I don't even know how she does it. She plays piano. She's a 5-octave singer or something like crazy like that. And so my thing is, then you have all these tools to be an artist. If this isn't right for you, then make a path. Write. She likes writing. Write. Create. And hopefully, my parents weren't in this business, but I am. So hopefully, she has representation already. She's had it for a couple of years now. She's 10. And hopefully, and they know that, stereotypes or things like that, that's not what we're trying to do. So hopefully she stays on that path. I don't want to Matthew knows her, but
I mean, you could.
Hey, if she turns into Beyonce, I want. He did it. I mean, credit to him and Tina, Miss Knowles, but I want her to be able to make decisions and understand how it's going to affect her career and her life. That's what we're trying to teach her, to make the right decisions and don't let people pressure you into something you don't want to do. Yeah.
So that's a good way to help balance and teach her, one, the cultural responsibility and the weight that she has in representation, and then just for herself.
Yeah. And she's very aware.
So that self-realization is extremely important.
Sure.
To help you balance out that cultural responsibility.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
He's a good daddy.
I try.
Look at you.
I just don't want to mess her up because I don't want to be on the show or something like that where people talking about when she was 10.
I didn't have a childhood, daddy. You've ruined. You have soiled me. You have soiled me.
We don't even see Matthew Knowles anymore. They don't even talk about the man. Come on. Well, people talking about Joseph Jackson. If it wasn't for Joseph, no Michael, no Tito, no Marlon, no Janet.
With all of that talent in the room, I think you still could have been successful without whooping that talent out.
He was like, by the way, hold on, pause, keep this in. We don't, and I know some black people, we don't deal with her that way. We deal with her this way.
Yeah.
I've never, ever had to do that. I won't, I can't. I'm too big. She's too little. But my daughter is somebody who I'm very proud of how she's doing in school. She's doing great, perfect report cards. She's when she has little conflicts and misunderstanding with friends, she goes back, she'll talk to them, she'll apologize. She does that. That's what we're trying to do. I don't need to, I got whoopings a lot. And even for stuff I didn't do, I never liked it. It never really taught me anything, but okay, just, you're going to get a whooping.
Don't do that again, right? There's no...
And that's not, I'm married to a clinical psychologist, so
Well, that helps.
You know what I mean? We're trying to build something different here without all the trauma that comes with it. Yeah, so we're trying to...
Understandably so.
So...
Yes, so why don't you let everybody know how they can get in contact with you?
I am really just on Instagram. I don't do X, Twitter, all that kind of stuff, because... I don't trust myself, so I am Marco Martinez. I am there. I'm pretty visible. You can find me there. I'm on the Facebooks for the older people, but honestly, the Facebook is just for people I know. So you can go to Instagram. If I don't post something about enlightenment or to make you think or in the business, I'm gonna post something to make you laugh because life is too hard, and I want people to laugh and appreciate life and have a good time. And when you think of me, I want people to be like, oh, that's a person that I can talk to or that is supportive or that makes me laugh. I don't want you to be like, oh, this dude is always with the fist up.
Half of our conversations are memes. I'd say about a good 70% of our conversations are ridiculous, inappropriate memes. A good 10% are fight the power, and then that's a good meme. The fight the power ratio. Good? Yeah. So that's kind of how our relationship is.
Live life, love life. Find something you love. I mean, there's too much anger and negativity. You can't just wake up, be mad, or be thinking. I'm mad every day, and every 4 years I'm mad about politics, and then I go back to just being mad. That's not life.
That's not life.
You turn around, you're old, you're sick, somebody else is dying. You go, oh man, I should have done X. I'm just trying to live.
Thank you so much, Marco. I greatly appreciate you coming on and sharing your wisdom with our listeners. So that about wraps it up here with us, guys. Don't forget to follow us on all of our socials. You definitely can hit me up at Only One Giovonnie, and definitely check out our Patreon page for more footage and extras from this very interview. But until then, stay golden.
Thank you.